Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Kat, a worship associate and a member of this congregation. I'm so glad to be worshiping with all of you today. Leading worship with me today are Reverend Margalie Belizaire, our music director, Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, along with Steph Garber, Ellen Tetlow, Sandy Pollock, Cindy Schleier, Joy Dickinson, and Sandy Cawthorn. Today, we'll explore how faith and generosity intersect. We welcome all to join us as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here, regardless of your color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. As Unitarian Universalist congregation, we're a non-creedal community and do not subscribe to a specific set of beliefs. We live by a covenant that encourages ethical behavior, affirms democracy, celebrates the worth of each individual, and unites us in a search for truth and meaning. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation, you can go to orlandouu.org or email welcometeam@orlandouu.org. We have one special announcement today. Our spring congregational meeting will be held right after the service today at 12 noon, both in person in the sanctuary and online. The online link can be found in the weekly update. Announcements are on slides before and after the service. All of them have links in the weekly update or on our website. We're so glad you're worshiping with us today. Let us begin.
Good morning. I'm Steph Garber, a fellow member here at 1U. I'm glad to be with you this morning. At the beginning of the service, the Unitarian Universalists have a tradition of lighting the chalice. It enters us into that sacred space of worship. Please join me in these familiar words. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share.
And now, please join me in singing our opening hymn, which is hymn number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open. The words will be projected on the screen.
Good morning. Our hymn this morning, I Know This Rose Will Open, is a round. We'll sing it one time through together, then we'll do it 3 times. I'll take the first part, the choir will lead the round. You choose whichever fits you best. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this
Good morning, all. We gather this morning in community for the last installment of the series on our UU principles. Today we will explore the proposed eighth principle, which the Article 2 Commission is considering, and many UU congregations have already adopted. They've adopted this through a grassroots movement. And of course, the Article 2 Commission is working on that entire article where all of our principles live. We'll see what becomes of the eighth principle when they are done with it. And as we gather this morning, the world continues to need a life-saving message of hope and inclusivity, our affirmation of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. So, I invite us to continue to be mindful of the importance of what UU offers to the world and why we must support it. Our generosity campaign continues as we once again commit to this faith through financial contributions. I call us to worship with Welcome, Sweet Soul, with Reverend Dr. Rebecca Savage. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of renewal and hope. Here, we welcome your tender places and yearnings to be fully present. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of meaning and belonging. Here, we welcome your questions and wonderings on the journey towards wholeness. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of compassion and heart. Here, we welcome you, all of you, and we invite you here as you are. Here, we welcome you to renew your connection to the Spirit of life. Renew your relationship with the sacred, the interdependent web of all existence. Welcome, sweet soul. Come, let us worship together. For our time for all ages, we offer the following video that speaks to the question, what is the eighth principle? This will be followed by our children's song, This Little Light of Mine. At that time, child care will be provided in the little playground outside for children who parents wishes them to attend.
What is the eighth principle? Well, you know our 7 principles, right? They're things that matter to us. Things that guide how we are as a community, how we treat each other, and what we want to bring more of into the world. Just like each of us is always learning and growing, we know our principles have to grow sometimes too. This is the story of the eighth principle. A few years ago, some UU leaders spoke up. They told us these principles we love, they left something out. Like many who'd come before them, they spoke about how people still aren't being treated fairly because of the color of their skin, or where they come from, or other things that make them who they are. And that happens not only in the world at large, but even in our congregations, even in this one. So we need to do more to make sure that all people can feel welcome and loved here. We need to say more about our commitments to fight against racism, because racism hurts everybody. In fact, it hurts all 7 of our principles. And so, the eighth principle was born. The eighth principle is a commitment to fight against racism and oppression, and to build a beloved community of love and trust and belonging here in our church and in the world around us. We're going to be talking about the eighth principle a lot this spring.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Good morning.
I'm Sandy Pollock,
I'm Cindy Schleier.
and we have the pleasure of co-chairing the Generosity Campaign this year. Woo! So if you don't know, the Generosity Campaign is that time every year when we decide what we're going to pledge to our church, because most of how we do what we do comes from us financially.
And by us, we mean you.
Yeah, you. Actually, we have been so busy, you know, having fun doing the Generosity Campaign and working a little bit,
Working?
just
yes.
a little bit, that we looked at each other today and realized we haven't pledged.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So shame, I know, except we don't do shame, so that's okay. But if you haven't pledged yet, you're in really good company, because we haven't either, but we both will be pledging this week.
Cards are on their way.
On the way. So, woo! I'm going to be increasing my pledge this year. My partner is joining. We're going to be pledging as a unit, so that's exciting. Now, the real reason you want to pledge, I mean, I know the church is good and what we accomplish is good, but you're going to get a gift.
Yes, yes, that you can carry wherever you want to go.
Yes, it will be a gift that lets everybody know you're a supporter of 1U. So we expect to have those ready by the end of the month, and hope to maybe do a drive-by, I guess, early April,
Sure.
and as well as at church and stuff.
And if you've already pledged, you can still pledge again.
That's right. But and we're going to talk about just a little bit more during the meeting next door in a bit, but I did want to give you the most recent update as of the 18th. As of the 18th, we have received 26 pledges, so that represents over 14% of our households. Our current amount is $110,419, so that's really, really good. It represents a net increase of about 7%, or over $7,000 for the last year, so yay us. And if you have any questions,
You can see us,
just find us,
or email us, or text us, or...
wave or something. Thank you.
As we make space for the joys and concerns of this congregation, I invite you to reflect on those who are on your hearts this morning, and those who are with us online, to put the names of those people in the chat. As you know, we are just making our way back in person, and we'll involve the caring circle in doing this piece with us a little bit more. But right now, those who are on your heart, if you would just take a moment. Ben McKay continues to need our prayers and healing energy as he is still in the hospital. His daughter and son-in-law are here, and I believe Lisa was with us at service last Sunday. Bring your joys and your sorrows as we come together. Come as you are. Your whole self is welcome in this sacred space. Whether you are here with us in person or online, we are creating community together. For joys and sorrows shared and for those held close to our hearts, let's pray, let's celebrate, and let's send each other healing energy. I invite us into meditative prayer with the words of Reverend Rebecca Savage, Renewal, Faith Eternal. Spirit of life, beloved of our hearts, receive our prayer. Holy One, at times our spirits are like dry bones, devoid of moisture, cracked and brittle, weary with life. At times we feel absent and apart from the rest of the world. We feel cast adrift. People around us continuing on and seeming to have everything figured out. Spirit of life, nourish us. Nourish our spirit with your cascading love. Remind us that we are held in the sacred, interdependent web of all creation. Remind us that the spark of the divine is within us and radiates out from us, giving life the shape of justice. May we bathe in that eternal. May our thirst for life be drenched in your living waters. May our faith be renewed again this day. Be blessed. And may you accompany the Ukraine refugees and all other refugees around the world as they contemplate their next steps. May it be so. Remain seated in a meditative state as we sing our centering hymn, 1059, Be Ours a Religion. Words will be on the screen.
I'm Ellen Tetlow, and I'm a member of the 8th Principal team here at 1U. Our team is unique in that it has members from 1U and Triple U. Our mission is to educate our congregation on the 8th principle and to have our congregation vote to adopt this principle, and to also have Triple U vote to adopt the principle. We look forward to sharing information with you in groups, online, in person, and having some great conversation. If you want additional information, you can go to the 1U website and go to Justice, and under there you will find the information on the 8th principle and our email address. Thank you.
Beloved Space by Jan Carpenter Tucker. Safe space, an illusion, a magical myth, a place to suffer silently. Your free expression, my oppression. Your privilege, my pain. Step lightly, remind gently. Disarm, yet do no harm. Hold safe space so all are heard and none are hurt. Hold the tongue so none are heard and all are hurt. Brave space, a hope, a prayer, a wish, a place where words are spoken, tears shed, hearts rendered, dreams realized. Shared space now feels unsafe. Growth demands new depths of comprehension, wide berth for acceptance, tougher skin, steel-toed boots to shield our weary, marching, stepped-on feet. Sanctuary for unconditional love, replete with conditions. Your building up might tear me down. Your tearing down might kill me. What foundation exists to fill the voids, crowd out the noise, to make this place, this space, beloved? If love holds power, how much will it take to be love, breathe love, be loved, beloveds, in this beloved space?
We invite you into the practice of generosity. Your financial support allows the many ministries of the First Unitarian Church of Orlando to thrive. You can make an offering online to support the many ministries of this congregation. Simply go to orlandouu.org and click on the Donate button in the upper right corner. You can also send a text or mail in a check. You can also support our Share the Plate partner, the New Image Youth Center, by finding a link to their organization in our weekly newsletter. Please let us know you donated by dropping a line to Gabby, our program assistant.
important because by dismantling racism and other oppressions, people will be more accepting, and people will probably feel more welcome in the church and in other communities. And by seeing it in the church, seeing racism, like the lack of racism and people not being oppressed, we can bring it to other parts of our lives as well.
No one should get special treatment just for the color of their skin or get unfair treatment.
Obviously, the injustices in the world and unfairness in society are things that need to be addressed and fixed. And until those things are fixed, we can't achieve kind of a community that can support everyone in it, I guess. It's always felt like common sense to address these issues.
Because everyone deserves a fair chance at life, and because it will help our communities and a large population of the world be treated fairly and have what they deserve.
The eighth principle is important to me because I feel like we should have diversity and that nobody should be like mistreated just for how they were born or how they look. And I feel like racism is big in our society. A lot of people are harmed by racism, and I feel like we really need to stop it because it's not good. It's not good. It's terrible. It's a huge deal. I feel like everyone should be trying to stop it.
I feel like we're all kind of on this earth and in this life together, so we should work towards building a community who spans across cultural and racial divides. We're all working together.
I think it's important because building community is important because coming together and unity is one of the key steps in solving problems, whether big or small, which is reflected in the first principle of Saba, which is umoja, which means unity.
In church, we say that we're an inclusive, welcoming church. But if you look around in the congregation, you don't really see that many people of color. So if we adopt the eighth principle, that may make them feel more welcome and included.
It's important because it really puts into words what I think our faith should be doing, and what our purpose really is in the world. Not just our faith, but our faith into action. And so I think the eighth principle puts it into writing that that's really what our faith is about. It's obviously not enough because you need to live that out, but making it clear that that is what the purpose of Unitarian Universalism is.
Because if we don't, people such as Daniel Prude and George Floyd will get killed more than if we don't. And police were originated from slave catchers, so we shouldn't have slave catchers trying to hurt people.
I think it's important because sometimes even out of this, it's hard when you don't feel welcomed in a space.
Especially with the part of the eighth principle when it doesn't only address kind of society as a whole, but looking at yourself individually. A lot of people don't recognize that not being racist is not helpful because the reality is that everyone has their own racial biases and that it might not be their fault that they have been brought up in a society where these were kind of inserted into their minds, but they're still there, and ignoring them and refusing that they're there is very unhelpful.
Building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
Out of the mouth of babes. Wow. Before I start, I forgot at the beginning you may notice that we have all sorts of plants here. And of course, we have our weekly flower folks who bring flowers for us. The plants that you're seeing will be here moving forward, and this is courtesy of Michael. There he is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wanted him to bring this space to life, and here we have it, so thank you. About a year ago, I was speaking with a minister colleague who grew up UU. She mentioned how different the religious experience was for her as a child in the RE program of her congregation, and then later as a young adult in regular church. She felt a disconnect between what she learned in RE and what happened in adult church, to the point where she left for a while. And listening to the UU kids from this video, I wonder if they will feel similarly as they venture into adult church. As I noted last week, I love UU kids, and there's so much us adults can learn from them. They are generous and open with each other and in how they engage the world. And they seem to get it. Like one of them said, it always felt like common sense to address these issues. That is, injustices, diversity, inclusion, the harms caused by racism, etc. And then another said, to address these issues is putting our faith in action. We don't stand, we move. That phrase was uttered by the Reverend Louis B. Fisher in describing the stance of liberal religions on issues, concepts, theology. It is certainly the case of our denomination, Unitarian Universalism. It seems that embedded in our way of doing religion is a level of flexibility to move, to shift our position as new truths are revealed to us. In other words, we are always in process, and we are generally comfortable there. But as the Reverend Paul Razor notes, sometimes we don't move, we stand. I wonder, as our kids here grow up and watch us, are they perplexed by our moments of inaction? And if so, what do they make of those moments of us? It is, after all, the adults who are teaching them how to be in the world. And rest assured, we will miss the mark over and over again, and that's okay. It's part of being human. And our kids get to see us begin again in love when we mess up. We don't stand, we move. I was at a conference where Paula Cole-Jones noted that we, as a faith tradition, have lost about 50 years worth of forward movement in the area of racial justice. There were many missed opportunities to move during those years. Jones at some point also realized that those lost years might have been because there was nothing in our movement that encouraged us to think about or deal with racism and other oppressions at the systemic level. From this insight was born the idea of the eighth principle. And I feel obligated to note here that the eighth principle did not originate from blue, that is Black Lives or Unitarian Universalism, as is the misconception. This wonderful gift is the work of Paula Cole-Jones and Reverend Bruce Pollack Johnson. We, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. That is the proposed eighth principle. As we have discussed throughout our series on the 7 principles, those principles serve as our primary guide in our religious life. It could be said that the work the eighth principle is calling us to do already exists or is already assumed in some of the existing 7 principles. But it is not fully fleshed out. Our first principle, for example, speaks to the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Second one lifts up justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We are also asked to be accepting of one another, and we are working toward a goal of a world community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. So yes, hearing these read aloud, as you use living out these aspirations, we ought to be able to build a diverse, multicultural community by our actions. We ought to be able to dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions, or stop it, as one of our youngsters aptly stated. All of that is true, yet here we are. So there must be something missing. Something is lacking in what we have in place already, because again, here we find ourselves. As a religion that professes social justice as our sweet spot, and when we consider the amount of progress made in this arena on other issues, one might wonder, as our kids do, why we're not further along in realizing a multicultural community and in dismantling racism. How did our young person put it? At church, we say that we are an inclusive and welcoming church, but if you look around in the congregation, you don't see that many people of color. He's right. And that's a denomination-wide situation. He went on to suggest that living out the values proposed in the 8th principle might make our spaces more welcoming and invite the racial diversity we seek. The idea that if we build it, they will come. But I will take this even further and say, we might build it and still not achieve the inclusivity we desire. And still, we must build it. If we are to truly live out our UU values, creating space where all are welcome is at the core of what we hold sacred. In comparison to far ahead, we've moved on in comparison to how far ahead we have moved on other social justice causes, we are lagging behind in the area of racial justice. And the 8th principle invites us into a deeper commitment towards spiritual wholeness and renewed dedication to bringing forth that diverse, beloved community. The analogy that comes to mind for me when I think of the 8th principle in relation to the other 7 principles is the cry Black Lives Matter, which doesn't sit well with some, and they counter with All Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter. And it is true. And I think we can agree that all lives indeed matter, as our 7th principle notes, emphasizing, though, that Black Lives Matter is not a denial of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It is instead a recognition or a lifting up of a truth that has been denied either by action or inaction for centuries. And if all lives actually matter, then our actions and words and deeds ought to demonstrate the worthiness of Black lives because, well, Black lives are part of all lives, right? And all lives cannot be said to matter if Black bodies continue to be mistreated or treated in less honorable or worthy ways in other bodies. So the refrain, Black Lives Matter, is a necessary reminder to all of this important fact and might provide a shift in thinking and acting, maybe a recalibration of our minds and hearts. My words are twisting today, I'm not sure why. In a similar way, the 8th principle is shining a light on a specific area of our social justice work. At least according to Paula Cole-Jones, we have lost a lot of ground on this work during the past 50 years. This happened even as we were upholding the aspirations of the 7 principles. We are being offered the opportunity to reflect on our values anew and to move towards ridding ourselves, or our faith at least, of racism and bring about that beloved community. Perhaps this important work in our movement was halted or slowed down because, like the 8th principle, it demands a lot of us. It not only requires that we work on making our institutions more just, it implores us to do the inner work of addressing racism within ourselves. As our youth pointed out, everyone has their own racial biases because of the society we're brought up in. Ignoring them or refusing to acknowledge them is really unhelpful. And our faith demands that we stand, that we don't stand, that we move. The world awaits us.
Good morning. My name is Joy Dickinson, and I'm a relatively new member of this church, and I'm going to talk to you today about money. I'll come right out and say that word, not gift or donation, but money. Maybe like you, like me, you were brought up to be told that money was the root of all evil. It was something that we were never to put in our mouths as children because it was dirty. Money is dirty. Well, it took me a long time to understand that money's only as dirty or as clean as the uses to which it's put. It can also be glorious and essential and an expression of the shimmering, unseen web of all existence of which we're a part. It can be the vital means to create and protect the blessed space, the beloved space that Sandy read about earlier today, the beloved space. The Reverend Eleanor Gordon, founding minister of this church 110 years ago, once recalled as a girl that she went to church and Sunday school mostly for social reasons, and I think that was true of me too in my youth. And later as a young woman, I lived and worked in the academic world, and I probably considered myself and my friends too smart for religion or faith traditions. We knew a lot, and we had a lot of opinions, something human beings tend to do. You may have noticed that. So it was to my great surprise when in middle age I found myself sitting on a meditation cushion in an ashram in California. A friend had invited me to meet an Indian guru, the heir to a tradition of the meditation masters who brought Eastern meditation to the West in the 1960s. My smart self was horrified as I looked around at the statues and smelled the incense. But I kept going to programs there, and I couldn't deny the experiences that I had in that world, and couldn't deny my growing belief that the world's great faith traditions have a lot more in common than what separates them. I came to feel that in each of us resides a spark of the divine, whatever that is, manifesting as love, a spark nurtured in community as we join together, work together, laugh together, irritate each other together, and bump up against each other as we polish one another's soul. Such a community requires resources and support to flourish. It requires money to build the home for the beloved space. Reverend Gordon was sure of that as she worked to establish this church. Only after members made the commitment to such a building did she feel sure of its future. And she knew what she was talking about. She was 59 years old and a veteran of handling money, of paying the bills. In her girlhood, she ran the family's household while her father was away fighting for the Union Army. She had founded other churches, and her notes on the early years of this church often record the amount collected to the penny. Reverend Gordon knew that those pennies mattered, and she knew this church, the last one she founded, mattered a great deal. Never for a moment, she later wrote, did I question that Orlando was destined to be one of the large cities of the South, and as such it was most important that a liberal religious center be established there. No matter how great the struggle, we must hold on. Her prediction that a dusty Florida town among the lakes would become a major city was an astounding statement of foresight. But Reverend Gordon was right. Orlando did grow, and hold on, this church did, through the efforts of so many over 110 years. So as one believes in the importance of history, my path to this church is entwined with the stories of Eleanor Gordon and her old friend Mary Safford and others of the founders. In preparation to celebrate the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote a couple of years ago in 2020, which these women supported valiantly, I came to know members of this church, now dear to me, who invited me so warmly into this community, to a home where all are welcome and where every penny has value as an expression of love. It's an honor to be part of this community that carries on their work and to support it. And now, once again, let's rise in body or spirit and sing our closing hymn, Waiaya. The words will be on the screen.
The words you'll see on the screen may be correct. They may not be correct. I can't really remember what I put on the slides. So what I'm going to suggest is, if what I'm singing is different than what you want to sing, just sing what you want to sing. But when the piano stops, stop singing. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo-ya-ya. Going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo-ya-ya, 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 wo-ya-ya-ya-ya, wo-ya-ya-ya-ya, wo-ya-ya-ya-ya.
If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. Reverend Joe Cherry. Beloveds, worship has ended, and now the service truly begins. And as Reverend Wolf said, there is only one reason for joining a Unitarian Universalist church, and that is to support it.
We're going to extinguish the chalice now. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.